Good morning. I was thinking about Glennon Doyle today and how she just recently bravely came out as anorexic. And most people that know Glennon Doyle know that she suffers from an eating disorder, bulimia, and she has struggled with anxiety and mental health issues. And she just recently came out and said she has anorexia. And when I thought about her and her very first podcast, and she wakes up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and she is recording her podcast, and I found her to be so brave. And what's keeping me from doing my podcast is just that I'm not brave enough. And so I decided if Glennon Doyle can do it, so can I. So today is my first podcast and my first recording. And my podcast, I think I've been waiting for myself to become an expert at something before I start my podcast, before I start my YouTube channel. I need to be the expert. I need to know everything. I need to be able to teach people. And the reality is, no, I don't. I I don't need to know. What I want to do in my podcast is share. And I want to share people's stories, and I want to share stories of grief so that we can all start to understand grief better. A lot of people have been talking about grief lately, or maybe it's just that since I study grief, I've been noticing more people talking about it, and they've always been talking about it. I'm not sure which is true. What I know for sure, though, is that we have become grief illiterate in this country and probably a lot of places. We have had this pursuit of happiness. We've had this pursuit of making life better. We've included our children in the conversation. We have LGBTQ plus, groups all over the place, affinity groups, people of color, Black Lives Matter. We're progressing so far and so fast. It's beautiful. And yet in our progress, I believe we're losing our ability to feel sadness and sorrow. And I think sorrow is an important emotion because sorrow is where compassion comes from. When we feel something that makes us sad, we feel compassion. And we are lacking this ability to feel sorrow, which means we're lacking compassion. I believe we're lacking compassion for the earth, for our fellow man, for the Ukrainians. We see things that are tragic, and we kind of turn our faces because we can't allow our bodies to feel the sorrow because we're so unaccustomed to feeling it. So I want to bring sorrow back into our lives. I mean, the bittersweet, it's the beautiful sadness, um the feeling of feeling sad and happy at the same time, feeling open, sad and open. We do enjoy a sad song. We do enjoy a sad movie, but I've noticed that our songs, when I was in high school, we had songs like, we had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. These songs were sad. I don't hear those sad songs anymore. And I think the sad songs really actually were the more popular songs back in those days. And they are not popular now. I can guarantee you that because I listen to a lot of music and the sad stuff is not the popular stuff. It's so anyway, I think my job in this podcast is to bring our ability to feel sadness and sorrow back without judging it. We can cut out half of the sorrow and sadness if we stop judging our feelings of sorrow and sadness, if we stop feeling sad about feeling sad. So I want to interview people that have gone through grief and that have recovered from grief or that are still going through grief. And I want us to just come together to hear the stories and to witness other people's sadness and to witness other people's sorrow. I am a grief specialist, I'm a life coach, I'm a death doula. So I have some information that hopefully I can share during, our time together. But in the meantime, stay tuned for some beautiful stories about grief and sadness and how we are overcoming it and how we can, I believe, save the earth if we can all stop turning our head to the sad things that are happening. Because if we can embrace sorrow and sadness, we can change things. But we can't change things unless we allow ourselves to feel it. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will subscribe to my podcast, and I hope that you will join me, and I hope we can start making big changes.